internet friends, and welcome back to another episode of Go Ask Alice, the show where we jump down random internet rabbit holes and bring you wonderful factoids for our adventures in Wiki Wonderland. I'm Drew, and I really enjoy digging holes for some reason. I don't know why. With me is...
I'm Lindsay, and I'm still thinking about the word sesquipedalian.
My favorite word.
Me too, at least on the daily. And I'm Sarah, and my favorite color at the moment is mustard.
Ew.
Oh, ew.
I like it.
This is the show. Sorry, I like it. This is the show where we plunge into curiouser and curiouser, and we dredge the lake bottom of the internet to bring you the weirdest, creepiest, funnest, most exciting, or purely strangest facts that we can possibly find on the internet. This week, we started on Gucci.
We did, because of
so that we could steal that hashtag.
House of Gucci, father, son, House of Gucci. I'm so excited to see Lady Gaga play the role she was born to play.
Oh, dear Lord. Anyway, we started on Gucci. We ended up in very different places. But before we reveal where we've ended up, it is time for Question of the Week. And I am excited to announce that we have some listener submissions to answer these questions. Yes.
Oh, okay. So shall I start with this week's question?
Please do.
Ooh, it is a good one. It is, what would your stripper name / drag queen name be? So basically, what is your most extra stage name? Your dream name, what would it be?
So Monica from Chicago says Bones Dongtron. But also submitted Bruno Bang Knife. We got 2 for 1.
Bruno
great.
Bang
That's a hard
Knife. I
choice.
love it.
And we have Daniel from Seattle says Bruce Peenhammer.
Bean Hammer.
Oh, that's also wonderful.
Sarah, you've been bursting to share with us, what is your stripper name?
I have, because I would have the perfect name. So I guess anyone who doesn't know what I look like, I'm a short lady, but I've got padonkadonk. I was gifted in the chest region, and I don't want to be. I'm cutting them off soon. But that has been basically my brand for all of my life, is just unreasonably large chesticles. But so I would call myself, if I had a stripper or a drag name, Mountain Mama, based on, that song, Take Me Home Where I Belong. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mountain Mama. So that would be my stripper name, Mountain Mama, and then I'd have like a bra with mountains on it to really hammer it home.
That's beautiful. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's exceptional. Thank you for that, Sarah.
Thank you for letting me share it, because in 2 months, I will no longer be Mountain Mama. I will be Mosquito Bite Hill, which I am very excited about.
I will be Mountain Sun. Drew, what is your stripper or drag name?
So I had 2 stripper names that were themed. They're themed stripper names.
Oh, good.
Good, so you can go with what you feel, like on a given day.
Yes, exactly. So my first one, and it's a little callback to another episode, it would be Pierre Delecto.
Yeah.
And I would come out in a Mitt Romney mask.
Stop.
Oh, fabulous.
Oh, amazing.
and have a tearaway suit, so it looked like a mall official, and it's like, bam, actually pull off suit.
Oh, you gotta have the pole. Oh, yes. I love that you came with an outfit in mind.
Yes. And then the other one is Daddy Drew. And
you come out wearing just a toddler carrier on your chest and nothing else.
No, it's even worse than that. It's like I come out and I'm all disheveled. I've got like a wife beater with like a hole in it, and I've got like a beer can in my hand.
Drew, you'd
and I'm
be
just like,
terrible stripper.
No. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. You gotta let me finish my. This is a themed. It's themed.
I'm so sorry. Keep going.
He's painting a word picture.
I come out and I walk over to the pole and I bump into it. I'm like, oh, what the fuck's this? And then I grab it and bam, start my routine, and it's like a beautiful routine, and like throw the clothing off, and they're like, oh shit, like I was expecting something completely different from this, and like the DJ,
Oh shit! All that's under there.
the DJ would be like, get this guy out of here, and when I come out, but then like he's like, oh shit, what's happening?
And then you're like, and he's like, no
No
one
one
touch him.
We
No one
love him
touch him.
now, and that would be my stripper. Stripper name / stripper routine.
That would just not be my
That's my
stripper.
stripper.
That is excellent.
Oh my god, I love how
So
oddly
good.
specific it is.
Yeah. That's my brain in a nutshell. Oddly
Well,
specific.
Daddy Drew.
Daddy Drew.
Daddy Drew.
Oh,
He's single, ladies.
hey.
Hey.
Email us at Ask Alice Podcast and we can set you up.
We can interview. You have to go through a 2-step interview process. Me and Sarah.
Yep, 2-step authentication before you get to the goods.
The damaged goods.
We're all damaged. Don't worry about it.
Lindsay, what's
Lindsay.
your stripper name?
Thimble tickle.
Another callback. We're doing it.
Oh, Thimble Tickle. That was a great episode.
Maybe I would wear like a. Maybe I'd wear like a giant squid on my front region. Really, actually, yeah. I would wait. I would be sponsored by Nova Scotia Tourism.
Nova Scotia
Oh my god,
tourism.
you could be their new
Good.
mascot. Thimble Tickle. The dancer. Thimble Tickle, the musical, the Broadway show.
Why do I feel like that has to be a tap dance performance?
Yes, because with the 8 legs, you'd have to tap with all of the legs. If you haven't listened to the Thimble Tickle episode yet, go back. It is the episode about a giant squid, and it's wonderful.
Believe it was Giant Squids with Socialist Agendas was the name of the episode.
That's it.
Yes,
Yes.
I think that's it.
Promise no squids were socialists in the making of it, but it was really, really fun.
And where did everybody end up this week?
I want to know you first, Lindsay, because you gave us a hint in the WhatsApp, and you said you're going to talk about sex a lot, and then you sent a picture of a robot.
Yeah.
So are you a robot sex doll?
That is related. I will be talking about Ars Electronica.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Ars Electronica. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Drew, what are you talking about? Any sex or robots?
No, actually, Lindsay nailed it when she posted on Twitter. A spider silk, actually. You nailed it. You nailed it.
Oh shit! Yeah, I was guessing.
Yeah. You got it. You
That
got
was
it.
very hopeful thinking on my part. So I am very happy that you're going to talk
Okay,
about spider
I'm
vomit.
excited. Is spider silk the same as the web
You're
silk?
gonna have to listen to find out.
Okay, oh, of course. Duh.
Stay tuned.
Can't get all the answers right now. Alrighty. Well, I landed on plague doctors.
Plague doctors. All right.
Plague doctors. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. I don't even know where to. I mean, should we continue the stripper theme and just go right into the sex talk?
Yes. Yeah. Let's do
I'm
it.
into it.
Okay, and then who should we do after that though? We got
Shall we then bring it right down with some Black Death?
Black Death, and then end up with a little silky touch at the
Yeah.
end.
Bring us
Yeah.
back up with some silk.
It's like we're gonna have a wild night. It's like we're gonna start out partying, then we're gonna contemplate our mortality, and then we're gonna throw up.
Yeah.
You know, like
Sure.
yeah, it's just
Basically, it's like shots of tequila, dance on the dance floor, regret everything.
yeah. I feel like this entire episode is going to be like the emotional roller coaster of a really great night out.
Yeah, buckle up. Here we go.
Buckle up. Here we go.
Well, then let's jump right into it. So, Ars Electronica, if you couldn't hear by how I'm enunciating, the first word is arse, as in ass.
Oh, ass.
Good.
Yeah, so ARSE, Ars Electronica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ars, yes.
So this is actually an annual conference that was organized by the Austrian Arts and Philosophy Collective called Monochrome, who I had never heard of before, but the title of the series was to be a pun on Ars Electronica, which is an arts and technology organization in Austria.
Oh, wow.
So funny.
Yeah, so I immediately was very, very interested. And so kind of broad strokes definition of Monochrome, this group, is that they love to push boundaries. I'm all about this. They're all about investigating sex and death and taboo. And they get into technology because what other frontier than the frontier of science is worth studying, is worth pushing. So Ars Electronica was a conference series that pushes all of these boundaries simultaneously. So the conference ran from 2007 to 2015. I couldn't find what happened after 2015.
Yeah, because that's a long run.
It is. It used to be held in San Francisco, but then according to the Wiki article, they wanted to bring it back to Austria, but no word on whether or not that was successful, if it changed names. I'm honestly not sure what happened after 2015. But this is so fitting. They give a list of like notable people who have been, and I don't recognize any of these names, but they seem to be very prominent in like sex positivity scenes. But one of the people writes a blog called Slashdong.
Slashdong.
Which I think is great. That's another great stripper name is Slashdong, I think.
Slashdong.
That is great.
And another, I don't know if this is a blog or a company called Thrillhammer. So once, I might save these as like World of Warcraft usernames.
Thrillhammer. I love it.
Thrillhammer and Slashdong.
It reminds me of Thrill House from that Simpsons episode.
I think that the best way to introduce this is just heart to heart for a moment, say, we're all humans. And we're all, I think, with our creativity, trying to forge what the next frontier is going to look like. But simultaneously, like, we're animals.
Yeah.
Like, we can stray further and further from God's light, all we want. But we are always going to have needs and urges and things like that. And so I think that societally, there's a lot of taboo and shame around sex. But it's very interesting to me personally, as your co-host, Lindsay, to think about the ways that we intellectually push the boundary of technology, and yet we feel that we have to leave behind the body in a sense. And it's almost like, I guess taboo is the word I keep coming up with, but it's almost like really frowned upon to even think about or discuss the ways that our bodies are going to react to such a digital age, or how our needs will be satisfied in a realm that is more and more like futuristic, I guess. And so that's something that this conference really tries to explore. And who better to do it than artists who already don't give a fuck about social norms?
Well, I think it's so interesting, the idea of, like, when you say that sex can be a bit of a taboo topic, because really it was like back in the, the Victorian and the Edwardian eras where all of a sudden, like, it was pretend sex does not exist, and it's it's unnatural and, ungodly if you're not married or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, we're animals. Literally the only reason we exist is to reproduce and try to continue the species. Like,
exactly.
What?
Yes. And I definitely feel as a scientist, there is a weird tension between, you never want to come across as too emotional, because God forbid that makes your science look less valuable or less credible. And so, what's more emotional than sex? And so it's almost like if you bring up sex with technology, you're a freak. You're a freak right off the bat, or it makes the science you're talking about less scientific. One has to come at the cost of the other. And I fundamentally disagree with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it doesn't have to just be the emotionality. The emotion, blah, I can't speak today. The emotional things behind talking about sex, but emotion in general, especially in science, like a scientific forum, that idea of having any type of emotion, can be perceived as negative, or you don't want to come across as weak, which is bizarre.
Absolutely.
Because, again, animal with emotions. We're not robots. Yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
But it's interesting. It's interesting though, because this really is that engendering of robots and emotion. That's what this cross section here is. Given that I'm setting the stage for this to be taken seriously, I'm going to giggle like hell at some of the puns they come up with.
Okay.
I wanted to share with you guys some of the conference names. Because, so anybody who's never been to a conference, every year there is usually some kind of theme. Not just in our field of astrophysics, but in, I'm sure humanities fields do this too. Drew, have you been to?
It's the only way that we get joy out of our work is to come up with bad acronyms and funny conference names.
And some semblance of structure, right? Like if we just say, oh yeah, this isn't just everyone coming to talk about random shit. This is all frontiers in the new age, whatever the fuck,
Yeah. Yeah, like I've been to a Cool Stars conference this year. And it literally is about cool temperatured stars.
All the conferences I've been to have like had no theme to them. They're just kind of like, yeah, we're here.
Really?
Yeah, they haven't had themes.
Yeah, we're here.
So I wanted to share some of my favorite titles and themes of some of the conferences past between 2007 and 2015. So the one that immediately caught my attention was, do androids sleep with electric sheep?
I love that. Oh, it's good.
That is good.
Another one was Space Racy.
Ooh, Space Racy. I like that.
Foreplay. Screw the System.
Ooh, yep.
And the most recent one, which I think has a very cool poster because it's still on their website, is Shoot Your Workload.
Oh my God.
But some of the, beyond giggling at all of these very inappropriate, well, not, why inappropriate? Let's expand on that. Why inappropriate? No, these are just rated not for children, but not inappropriate, because we should talk about it. Some of the things.
Yeah, not inappropriate for mature aged people.
Yeah, exactly. And we're still polite society.
Are we?
Questionable.
So some of the things that were discussed at these conferences that kind of got my interest peaked and my imagination running was that, for example, do androids sleep with electric sheep? One of the topics that they covered was sex and tech through futurist sci-fi. So starting from the perspective of science, going to science fiction, and then expanding into sex. But then coming from the other perspective, starting with porn and looking at the way that porn incorporates science fiction.
Oh.
Interesting.
Which I really had not thought about. So yeah, that was an interesting one. Space Racy that I mentioned talks about, quite literally, sex in outer space. How would we do that? We keep talking about how we want to expand to other worlds, expand into space. What is sex like in outer space? But kind of, I would argue more importantly, how will built spaces, human-built spaces, in outer space take on its own new sexual nature, or how will it be inherently heteronormative? If we, as the way that we are now, projecting ourselves into space and making new environments, how is what we have with us today going to carry through with us? We keep imagining some very futuristic, brand new Garden of Eden sort of a deal. But if we have plenty of problems here socially with us on Earth, how are we going to bring things like that into space and the new frontiers that we create there, such as heteronormativity?
Ooh, I like that. That's interesting.
I think so too. Of course, also in this conference was interspecies romance. And we can't really talk about that yet because we haven't discovered alien species, but they also talked about that in video games.
Oh, they were talking about alien. I thought we were leaning on bestiality here, and I'm like, you've lost me.
I mean, that's kind of a gray area when we're talking about aliens, I think. But that's maybe
Star Trek and Star Wars, there are the great loves between, different species.
That is
a little bit weird.
I mean,
I guess.
Yeah, probably not in this episode, but that would be an interesting thing to ponder. Like, when is it bestiality and when is it just interspecies relationships? But I don't get paid enough to do that, so I'm not going to think about that right
I like thinking about also just like the basic biological mechanics of like sexual intercourse in outer space as well, because there's, or even just so once you have your fetus, like how does it actually develop in outer space? Because there's all these like big questions about how important is gravity to development of not only a fetus but also into the production of that fetus. So again, yeah, sex in outer space, we're not sure if it would work and if it would biologically do what we need.
I think I'm also very interested in a purely social aspect, what sexual norms and sexual cues and flirting would all look like in space, because it's like on Earth, like, you know, there's like you give a little look or you like saunter on over, or there's like, you know,
you meet at the water cooler.
Yeah, there's like a proximity where it's like once you cross that, it's like if we're talking really close to each other, this is now flirting. Well, if we're fucking like spinning around in zero gravity, like at what, you know, our boundaries, I think, would change. Or, you know, are you going to notice I'm winking if we're just spinning around? Yeah, like, how will our body language, I guess that's what I mean more broadly, is how would our body language change in space? And what would space courtship be like?
All you got to do is just do a sick backflip and you're good.
Yeah, I think that these are things, I don't know if that specifically was talked about at these conferences, but this is kind of the point, is not just to have these quick punchlines of like, haha, I made a dirty joke, but to truly get into like, what does gender, sexuality, and sex itself have to do with space and in the future, and incorporating mechanical elements. So a lot of this does have to do with sex dolls, and even less human than sex dolls, but like sex machines. What does that actually mean? And I thought of this documentary, I'm not sure if it's on Netflix, but it's called Animism, where people will date inanimate objects. And this is a bit of a divergence because it's not quite the same as this conference was talking about, but it's like, you know, this woman in one of the episodes has a crush on the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. I watched one episode where this man is in love with these pool floaties.
I did not see that one.
Oh, it's very pure. Yeah, he's got multiple pool floaties, and I think he's got one that he's technically, well, not technically married to, but that he considers his wife, but they have an open relationship. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it was very pure.
Well, I wonder how much he's making the rules. That's why I'm laughing. Like,
well, she's obviously got no voice in the relationship. But the idea of love or falling in love with different things, I think, is very fascinating, because there's this famous crane, I forget what its name was, but it imprinted on a human when it was a baby. And it's a really rare species of crane. And it's one of the only males, or was at one point one of the only males in captivity, and they needed it to reproduce. And so it was in love with humans. It imprinted on humans, so it wasn't attracted sexually to the other cranes. And so the way that they basically were able to help the species was to have a human go in and do a little mating dance until they were in the right position to, you know, either grab the eggs or you know, artificially inseminate the female. It's really fascinating.
Wow. Yeah, it really gets after like the biggest question, like, what's love? What is love? Don't start singing it.
Baby, don't hurt
Fucking
me.
hell. As Hathaway once posed, what is love? But truly, you know, it transcends a lot of rules that I think we put on it. And I didn't even attend these conferences, and just this, like, literally this list on Wikipedia got me thinking about all of these questions. So I found that incredibly fascinating. And I wanted to leave you with a image, I guess. At one of it was Space Racy again. They had started doing a public performance art piece. And I love performance art because so back in the 1960s, there started to be this popular form of performance art called happenings. And the idea is that you will never again recreate this piece. It is impossible, because every individual who is present is bringing their own past up to this present moment. They're bringing their own impressions. They're bringing their own ideas of society. You will never again capture the emotion of that moment. And so it's more about a snapshot of your performance than it is about the performance itself. It's more about the audience interaction with the piece than it is just about the piece. So I'm a huge fan of happenings. And this is not officially called a happening, but it's the same idea. At the Space Racy conference, Monochrome performed or made available this piece called the 6 Feet Under Club. So if anyone's unfamiliar, there is a joke that, or not really a joke, but there's kind of like this idea of the Mile High Club, which means that you have sex on an airplane.
Never sounded appealing. I never understood the appeal.
No.
And this 6 Feet Under Club doesn't sound very much better either.
What do you think it is?
You have sex in a coffin.
And?
Underground?
Yeah.
Oh no. So like you're buried alive in a coffin and you've got to get intimate.
Yes. And then some. So couples could volunteer to be buried together in a casket underneath the ground.
Oh no.
And using Monochrome's own words, they describe this as to put the couple in a space that is extremely private and intimate, and it is a reminder of the social norm. I mean, yes, I even thinking about this, I get very claustrophobic. I do not enjoy the idea of this, but that's art, Sarah. That's art. When you feel something, that's art.
That is art. It invokes something. Yes, you're totally right.
So the coffin was meant to be a reminder of the social norm of exclusive pair bonding till death do us part.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
So it's kind of a play on that. However, quoting the Wikipedia article, this intimate scene was corrupted by the presence of a night vision webcam, which projects the scene to an outside wall.
Oh, geez.
So the scenario keeps the intimacy of a sexual moment while moving the private act into a public space. So Monochrome's performance can be seen as an absurd parody of pornographic cinema, or the examination of the high value placed on sexual privacy. Something really to ponder. I'm going to keep quoting that guy from
the Starforts. Something to ponder.
Starforts episode. Something to ponder. Every time something leaves me speechless, I'm like, something to ponder.
Something to ponder.
But it's true. I really love that juxtaposition of like intense intimacy where you are sharing a limited volume of breath possible, but it is also made incredibly public. And I do like this as an extremization.
Yeah,
I don't know, of pornography.
Yeah, the juxtaposition between the two is really good.
Yeah.
But also, it can't be that entertaining to watch because I'm guessing the coffin's not very large.
I don't think it was.
There might not be much to see.
I don't know.
Sarah's picky about her pornography.
So yeah, that was, I guess you could say that what I ended up reading was a lot less about Ars Electronica and more about the work of Monochrome. And I think they are really, really cool. And I'm extremely glad they exist. And before I move the microphone to one of you guys, I wanted to say that one of the sites in this article is literally everything you need to know about Justin Bieber going to space. Thank you for that contribution, Justin Bieber.
Good.
Well, I'm so sad that if those conferences don't continue, I hope they continue. It's fascinating.
It is. It made me very much want to look up what Monochrome has been doing and see if they want any
volunteers,
American collaborators.
An astrophysicist volunteer.
Yeah, I would love to talk about. Well, so this honestly, in my notes here, I wrote down Sex, Death, and Robots. Have you guys watched that?
Hello, Editor Drew here. Sorry to stop the episode for a second, but Lindsay got the name wrong. It's Love, Death, and Robots. So to save her from the apology corner next week, I wanted to correct that. Now back to whatever we were talking about.
No.
Oh, please. Oh,
Yeah.
it is a series on Netflix where I believe it's like small indie like I don't think these are any like big name productions, but it is small. Each episode is a self-contained story, all done in completely different art styles. And the subjects are sex, death, and robots. It is extremely good. I highly, highly recommend it.
Okay, I will. That sounds really, really fascinating. There's that Do you guys watch Rick
Yes,
and Morty?
a little bit.
Sometimes.
Yes. Have you seen the episode where they go to party on planets that are about to die? So the planets know that the apocalypse is coming, and they're having an end of planet party, basically. So they know that they're going to die. The species on there know that they're going to die, and they're just chucking a giant party to celebrate. But it ends up, they either turn into a giant orgy or, a cry fest. But it's really, really funny.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's good.
That's a great idea. Like, whoever wrote that, like, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's really good.
But this actually got me really thinking about like the interplay between, sex and technology. And one of the things that kind of hit me was VR porn, and how I've heard people say that changes your like how you view porn. Like completely changes it. Like you can't go back to just like non-VR porn. I mean, you can't. Of course, you can, but it's just like it completely is like a new level.
Actually, what's funny is that one of my gay friends texted me. So he's like really into VR, and I guess that he had done a VR porn something, and he texted me and he was like, "I am so sorry for you." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I tried out VR porn as a woman, and is that really what men look like?"
At least we got an apology on behalf of the male species.
He was like, I just wanted to know what heterosexual female sex was like. But it's like, I mean, it's a funny story, but it's also fascinating that that's where we are now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something that you can do. You can literally live another person's sexual experience completely independent of your own.
I'm sure there's a deep realm of psychology wrapped around this idea of, will people not be able to have real life general sexual?
Organic? Like as opposed to inorganic?
Yeah, like an organic sexual experience in real
Right.
life. And will it live up to their expectations now?
No.
Yes. No.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to say no. But yeah, I wonder how that will impact people.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah. I don't have an answer, but I think that's very cool to think about. Well, with that, should we get into death? Now we've sex, death, and robots. Let's go on to, sex, death, and spider vomit.
Sex and spiders.
Alrighty, so everyone's happy to jump down from sex to death?
Yeah. It's
Yes.
more of a lateral jump.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely don't do the jump at the same time. That's a lot. But
What's that supposed to mean?
Wait,
Don't do the jump. Forget it.
don't die while having sex.
Oh!
What do you guys think?
I just thought it was like a weird Australian thing you were saying. Anytime I don't understand you, I'm like, that's Australian culture. I don't get it.
It's a weird Australian shit.
Okay, let's jump laterally to plague doctors, which I'm so excited about. These are the classic plague doctor that you envision. Do you both have an idea in your mind of classic plague doctor with the beaked?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so these are super popular in like pop culture of medieval times, and lots of video games have incorporated them. Like think about Assassin's Creed with the plague doctors. Like they are such an iconic character, and I was so excited to learn more about them because it turns out that the actual plague doctor that we think about, the one with the bird beak mask and the big long stick and cape, actually wasn't around during the Black Death, or the biggest plague that there has ever been.
No way.
Yeah. So the Black Death, which was the big bad, not great time of the bubonic plague, which was in about 1315 to 1317. I think that was when there was like this great famine. A lie. So the Black Death, so there was a great famine. So basically the 1300s were not a good time for anybody at all. There was very low food stocks. Because of different famines around the European continent. There was also not great weather, so trying to keep food and grow new crop, not great. And then midway through, everyone gets hit with suddenly the bubonic plague is making its rounds through Europe, and it
absolutely ravaged Europe, and 25 million people died during this time because of the bubonic plague. Now, to put that into perspective, in the last 2 years with the coronavirus plague, well, not a plague, it's a virus, different thing. But with the coronavirus pandemic, we've had just over 5 million people globally die, which is an extraordinarily huge amount of people. And, you know, it's really devastating and having tolls on modern society. But think about how many measures we've had to put into place. And the reason that really we can even get back to having some sort of semblance of normal life is because of vaccinations and vaccines, which absolutely did not exist hundreds of years ago. Yeah, it was really not a good time for these poor people. But that was the Black Death. So that was the classic, when you think about the plague, that was it. The plague doctor, though, with the pointy beak and, you know, his high fashion sense, that didn't come into play until 1619, which I thought was really crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, hundreds of years later. So the first written description and like diagrammatic description that we have of a plague doctor is actually from 1619 in a written work by the royal physician Charles de Luynes, who was serving King Louis VIII of France at the time, and he described this kind of outfit and why it was necessary for dealing with the bubonic plague, because even though the Black Death was hundreds of years ago at this time, the bubonic plague was still quite rampant. So every now and again, there's 3 different strains of bacteria that can cause this bubonic plague outbreaks. And it would spear up every now and again. And so there were these minor pandemics happening in different areas of the world. And this outfit was basically the first hazmat suit, if you can think about it. But it was before they understood the science behind why we need hazmat suits, which I think is fascinating. So
it's because you don't want the virus to look at you.
Yeah. So
if he looks at you, he gets you.
Yeah. So I thought I would take you back in those times. So you are a ye-old doctor. You know that people are dropping dead around you, and you know that it's a plague. And it's probably the same thing that killed, you know, an enormous amount of people a couple hundred years ago. You don't know why, though. So you know they're getting sick. You don't scientifically know why. So back in the day, this is my favorite thing, is I think we've described this on another episode as well, is that the body used to be described via humours. So you used to have your 4 humours in your body, and these you could think of as 4 liquids. So you had your yellow bile, your black bile, your blood, and your saliva. And these were the 4 liquids that were meant to be in your body. Now we know there's many different types of liquids, and not that much bile. I think bile was overrated.
That's the difference. That's what they got wrong.
Yeah. They got a few things wrong, but it was this idea that you had to have this perfect balance of the 4. And so if you were unwell, well, obviously one of your humours was out of order, so you had to address that. And I think we talked about this when we were talking about mental illness back in the ye old days. They used to think that if you were depressed, you had black bile build up in your brain, which
true.
I mean, it feels like it sometimes when you have depression, but it's not physically the case.
Swimming in that sludge mentally.
Yeah, like you can understand because as someone who's dealt with depression, yeah, it does feel like you're just in a sad puddle of sludge. So you can see where they came from. And I wanted to ask you guys, do you know what a victim of the plague would look like when they were sick?
So it definitely had boils all over them, right?
Bulbous, the buboes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Boo-boos.
The boo-boos, yeah. The boo-boo bubbles. Yeah, so if you get the plague, your lymphatic system is struggling hardcore. So your lymphatic system is the bit that it filters out all the different things from your body. And when you're really, really sick and you have really intense infections, they swell up with, ironically, different things that could be mistaken as yellow and black bile. Back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you had like big puffy lymph nodes coming to the surface of your skin. So people might know, when you get a sore throat, you might be able to feel lymph nodes or glands in your throat. Now, imagine being so sick that they physically are so big that they start bursting through the skin. It sounds, and, yeah, it just sounds absolutely horrendous for these poor people. But they had their boo-boos, their boo-bosses. Yeah. And the good old plague doctors thought that if you got rid of the boo-bosses, you could help save a person.
Oh no, but don't they need those?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
oh, no.
You need your lymph nodes to keep working. And so I'm gonna get to it in a little bit about some of the wild things that they did. But I just wanted to describe the classic get-up a little bit before we go on. So I'm sure everyone kind of has a bit of a picture, a bit of an idea of what they look like, but the typical plague doctor always had a black broad-brimmed hat on, a white face-covering mask that had a large beak in the shape of, you can maybe think of it like a toucan beak. They then had big black robes on, covered gloves, so leathered gloved hands, long leather boots, and they had an undershirt tying their boots to their undergarment, so there was no exposed skin whatsoever.
Yeah, I like this. No matter what angle the virus is trying to look at you, you've got the hater blockers on.
Yes,
You're covered.
You are protected. And so the pointy nosy thing, which some people have probably heard that they used to put different nice smelling things in there, and it was kind of their way of making like a respirator. So they understood, they had this understanding that if you were near someone who was very sick, you were more likely to get sick. Mm-hmm. And they thought it was from breathing in the bad air. And they thought that the bad smells, because obviously you've got pussy boobas over here bursting and probably not smelling very good. They thought that was associated with the disease, which we know, yes, some things with disease smell bad, but it's not the smell that's making you sick. It's the bacteria or the virus that will make you sick. So they kind of had this idea that they needed a respirator, but just missed the mark a little bit. So instead of having like layers of cloth to try prevent smaller molecules, they were just trying to stop the bad smell. And so they stuffed their nose beak with, roses, carnations, lavender, peppermint, all sorts of things to try and make it smell better.
I mean, can you blame them though? Like, I honestly... I really think that it might have been crucial to get the job done.
Yes, honestly, for sure.
There have been times where I'm just like, like on my way to work and the person next to me has on way too much cologne or perfume and I feel nauseous. And this is like too much of a good thing is making me nauseous. So I can't even imagine if I'm like surrounded by like decaying bodies, that it would be very distracting to get my work done. Like I would think that just to even venture in there, it's like I need my teddy bear, I need my safety blanket, and I need like some good smells. Like
and my 3-foot stick. Because they tried not to touch their patients, they just prod them with the stick.
Oh my God. Like, hey, see you in bed there. Wake up.
Poke, poke.
What you got here?
Is that a pubis? Poke. Yeah. But on Lindsay's idea of getting the job done, so these plague doctors were actually contracted to different villages, towns, and communities. And what I thought was absolutely fascinating, especially, I should preface with in the Black Death, the largest plague, there absolutely were plague doctors. They just didn't dress the way we think they did. But there were certainly doctors contracted to help victims of the plague. And so the bit that I found fascinating was that I just assumed that only the wealthy would be would have been taken care of because they had the money to pay for the doctors. But what happened is the wealthy would fund for an entire region or town to be taking care of many doctors. So it was socialized medicine back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was anyone who was sick, they needed to be taken care of, because if you're, Mr. High and Mighty sitting in your throne, you need all of the people, your working people, to produce and to continue everyday life. And if they're sick, you get sick. So yeah, it was socialized medicine.
Oh, we should pause and think about that for a minute.
America, yeah, definitely should.
Yeah. Interesting. Something to ponder.
Something to
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can attest coming from Australia where we have very good Medicare, Medi-Aid. It's nice being looked after.
Yeah, and it's also amazing that your actions affect other people. Like if you get sick, other people get sick, or if you want to stay unsick, you need to make sure that the people around you stay unsick. Release the patents.
Oh, I'm sure anyone who listens to this, they have to be pro-science.
Hope.
You'd hope.
And getting rid of patents on life-saving vaccines.
Yes. Just patents on medicine in general.
Yeah, while we're at
Yeah,
it.
that's a whole nother can of worms. But I thought it was fascinating that, these doctors were contracted to certain areas and regions, but they had to get their work done. So if they didn't do their duties or get their work done, then their food and their board basically wasn't covered. So, had to do what you had to do. And this is where that couple hundred years later, that necessity of having our plague doctors dressed in their crazy outfits.
But yeah, so I thought it was fascinating, and I thought I would leave you off on one of my favourite ways that they used to treat the poor, sick and dying of the plague. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so they had those Bubuses things, so they used to think that, your humours were out of order. So you either had too much bile or too much blood, and the only way to get rid of that was to leach you of it. So have you heard of blood leaching before?
Of course.
Yes, absolutely.
We are Americans.
You Americans, you have leeches in your bathrooms for the blood leaching.
Well, it's also how Washington died, so...
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? How did was he sick and did they...
Yeah, they leached him too much.
Oh, no. Oh, your country's wild.
Because I'm proud to be an American. I salute, and there's like 5 leeches hanging off my forearm.
Amazing. Okay, so you can leech with leeches, which you're all familiar with. So if they thought that leeches weren't removing enough blood quick enough, they'd literally stab you in an artery or stab you in a very heavy flowing vein in the arm, normally in between your elbow and your like the other side of your elbow. What's that bit called? Not your weenus, but you know where you get blood drawn?
Oh, yeah, the inner... Drew, what is that?
I don't know.
I know that. What's the inside of the elbow?
The vagina? Because the weenus and the...
No. Stop it. It's a bad joke.
I don't know what it's called.
I'm going to call it the elbow pit.
Okay, so no one fucking knows what that's called.
Yeah. So your elbow pit. So they used to just stab them with big needles to create a decent flow. Let a liter or so, like a decent amount of blood, plop on out, and then they would quickly,
Jeez.
Suture it and try, put pressure, stop the bleeding.
Is anyone else imagining a 1600s Vine where they pull a leech off and they're like, this bitch empty, and then just stab the artery like, yeet?
Oh my God.
I think I should man our TikTok for this one.
I think you should. Please do.
I don't know how to use
Wow.
TikTok. Just join me. Just join me in your mind.
Go
Your
join her
mind.
on Twitter. I'm sure she'll make a meme.
Sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry for my horrible interruptions, plural.
No, it was fantastic. It's basically one of the things they did. But if that didn't work and you were really, really on death's door, a fantastic way to really kill you, to knock you off, or to try save you, what they thought was to cover your boils and bulbuses with mercury.
Oh no.
Liquid mercury.
Good.
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 Then put you right next to a furnace.
What?
Yeah, so put you in extreme heat with your liquid mercury on your bulbuses and see what happens. I don't think it worked out well for anyone, but that was one way that, that was your last resort.
I feel like the biggest problem here is that you're putting liquid mercury like that balls up and flows all over on like little tiny hills. So I feel like if you asked any doctors at this point, like the hardest part would have been keeping the mercury on the boils.
The boils.
It's not good.
Whatever it is, it's not good.
It's not good. And I'm not sure whether they like pierced a little hole, then put the mercury in. Like either, all ways, not good. But yeah, that is my tangent into plague doctors and how fascinating they were.
I learned so much, Sarah. Thank you.
Yes, thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome. I hope you had fun.
I did.
You know, that last part gave me chills, and like I've done surgeries on rats and like seen some shit, and that gave me chills. You just describing that, like those procedures to me. Ugh.
Oh yeah, it would not have been a good time.
So that was worse.
But this is why
my
vaccines are good.
Wow.
So we never
Yes.
have to resort back to boiling your boils.
Boiling your boils.
Get vaccinated.
I'm afraid of what's in the vaccine, so I don't want to put it in my body, but I would rather lie next to a fire and put mercury on my body.
There would be people though, like the people taking what is it,
Ivermectin.
ivermectin. Jesus Christ, that's a dewormer. Like, stop. Oh, people.
The horrible thing, one of the horrible things about living in a digital age is that I only found out about that through horse memes. I was like, this is funny. And then I found out like what it was. And I was like, I fucking hate people.
Oh my God.
I feel like our generation, though, I'm not shitting you. I get most of my information from memes.
It's just the most digestible format, I think.
Yeah, if you're going to give me bad news, make it a little snappy and funny.
Oh, no.
But yeah, that was me. Drew, you got to save us.
All right.
Drew, that's a tall order.
Save you with spider silk. How am I going to save you with spider silk? So actually, it took me a lot of clicks. It took me 20 clicks to get to spider silk. So I went on a journey, and at one of my points in my journey, I ended up on genetic diversity, which I was very tempted to go with. But
oh my God, just so you could talk about incest again?
yes, well, not the opposite of incest, genetic diversity.
Yeah, but just so you could say the word incest. I'm not talking about incest. This is the opposite of incest.
I just thought it was a little too on the nose to talk about genetic diversity, so that's why I didn't go there. I love genetic diversity. It's good.
Two on the nose.
Too on the nose. Yes. So spider silk. So I think we all know what spider silk is. Hopefully, we've all seen a spider web at some point in our lives. I hope listeners have seen a spider web. If not, I don't know, go touch grass. I think that's probably the best answer.
Okay.
Can confirm, come to Australia, you'll see many, many spider webs.
Spider webs.
Is it true that only female spiders?
No.
Ah, Miss Bustin. Here we go.
So spider silk, of course, is the material that spiders use to create webs and other structures to either catch food or protect their offspring. They can also use silk to suspend themselves in midair, like hang from their web. They can also use it to float in midair, called ballooning, which I'll get to later, which is super cool. And they use it to move away from predators, of course. So what I found very interesting was that spiders can actually vary the thickness and stickiness of their silk depending on what it's going to be used for. So it's not a one silk fits all.
That's amazing.
Radical.
They actually have quite a few different silks that they can actually produce. So I just thought that was super nuts. So what I found was that all spiders actually produce silk. Even spiders that do not build webs still produce silk, as silk is directly linked to their courtship and mating. So male spiders will vibrate the silk as a form of courtship signals to female spiders. And in addition, female spiders will actually leave pheromone trails on silk to attract males. So they kind of leave a little trail for them. Be like, oh, I'm over here. Look at me. So funny thing, a little Alice After Dark here. Male spiders will produce silk during intercourse. So they just kind of launch silk during intercourse.
Oh my God. That is so cool.
And the reason behind it, we have no idea. We haven't studied it enough to understand it, but they just do. They just launch it while they're going at it.
Inspired. They're making art. They're like, I love this. Here's some art.
Yeah. I don't think so.
I'm in love. I want everyone to know I'm in love.
I'm silking everywhere.
Not what I was saying.
Oh my God. Not what I was saying.
That's where you're going. So as I said, all spiders produce silk, and even spiders can actually produce up to 7 different forms of silk for their different uses. And this is actually very different from regular insects that produce silk as, like, they'll only produce one type of silk, while spiders will produce these 7 for very specific purposes. And some of these purposes include prey capture, of course, which, when they build a web and capture prey, it's like the pretty standard spider thing to do. And then they have prey immobilization, which is when they wrap up their prey after they've captured them, reproduction, which we just talked about, and dispersal. So dispersal is they use what's called ballooning or kiting, where they'll literally build a balloon or a kite out of silk and then fly themselves.
A balloon?
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, it's called ballooning or kiting. So they use the wind to fly themselves, like disperse themselves. Wow. So if they're like in territories, if they're like too overcrowded, they'll just like fly to another territory using a balloon. Basically.
I love that they did not let evolution dictate that they could fly.
Wow.
They were like, I don't need wings. I've got my silk balloon.
Yeah, right?
Use thermodynamics. Like, that's amazing.
And another use of silk, it actually can be used as a food source. Where some spiders that create webs daily will eat the unused silk to mitigate the metabolic expenditure. So they'll just be like, oh, I have a ton of silk left over, so I'm just going to eat this silk just so that I don't burn the calories, basically.
Really?
Ooh, I wonder if it tastes any good for them.
I don't think they have taste buds. I mean, they're pretty simple beings.
It's like, it reminds me of like when you're playing video games and you use up a bunch of your inventory and then you're like, like making a trail or something, like Terraria. Like, we've both been playing Terraria. Like, you put a bunch of shit down to like make a path or make a railroad or something, and then you're like, oh, a little too much. I don't want to do that yet. And you can just pick it right back up again, put it right back in your inventory, use it again later. Like, it's like, it's like fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's not like this is food and I have to redigest. I mean, I'm sure they do have to redigest it and everything, but it's just really, really interesting.
Yes.
And it's just so directly like, well, I guess the punchline is it's not directly, but very interesting.
Yes, I burn the calories to make this, so I'm gonna take them back up so that I don't waste the calories.
Yeah.
So silk, another super interesting thing. So silk can be used for nest lining or nest construction, and the wiki article talks about this really neat spider called the diving bell spider that actually makes a diving bell out of web and lives underwater for most of its life. And I thought that was like it's an aquatic spider that just like lives in the water, and I was like, that's completely nuts. So yeah, the diving bell spider, it's look it up, it's super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so it creates like its own little pocket of air.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. It wins. It just wins at life.
It wins. Yeah, exactly.
I'm Googling it right now.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You'll see it. It's super cool. So spiders will also use silk for guidelines to lead them back to their shelter. So they'll leave little breadcrumb trails for themselves. They'll be like, oh, I need to get back to my where I'm sheltered, and they'll leave a little trail for it.
Oh, I love spiders.
Oh my gosh.
I don't, but I love them now a little more.
I mean, I don't want them to touch me, but I very strongly appreciate them.
I'm fine if they touch me. You guys can send me your spiders.
I'll send you our spiders. Okay. So spiders will also use drop lines or anchor lines where the spider will drop from their web if alarmed. So, if you've ever walked past a web, sometimes you'll just see a spider just drop. And that's like a defense mechanism against predators. So it's just like, oh, I'm in the web. No, I'm not. I'm down here now. So it's that's their drop line or anchor line that they use. And then silk can also be used for what's called an alarm line, which, unlike prey capture, will alert the spider when prey is near, but not actually trap the prey. So it'll just say like, oh, there's an ant walking around over here. Come and go and grab it. And the spider will run out of its little cave and be like, oh, it got the ant. But then the alarm lines will also let the spider know if something big's outside, so the spider should just stay and hide. So it's just like these alarm lines have those two little functions that they can have. So it's really cute. I thought it was cute.
Right, so if you poked like a spider web, it would be like, that's not what food sounds like.
That's not what food sounds like. That sounds like a big thing.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And that's how they can tell if their mates are nearby, right? Like, oh, that sounds like a pretty lady.
That sounds like a pretty lady. Well, that's what because I was saying the males would vibrate the silk in a courting pattern. And so that's how they would know.
Like,
yeah.
it's like playing with your heartstrings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aww. Your silk strings.
Well, the females actually they leave pheromone trails. So they'll like wandering spiders will leave a trail of pheromones to help attract a mate. And so they'll just like leave this huge trail of pheromones so that any wandering spider, a male spider, would be walking around and be like, oh, I smell that. I want to go, find where that spider is. So that's like, they have so many uses.
Wow.
And what I found so very interesting is that these different uses have different thicknesses and stickinesses. I like it. Different thicknesses and stickinesses. So the spider actually employs several different glands to produce the different silks that I talked about. And basically a particular gland is linked to a particular function. So like particular silk function. So the first gland is the ampullate major, which produces dragline silk, which is like the most sturdy silk that they produce, and it's used for the outside of webs and also those lifelines or ballooning. So when they drop down, they use the dragline silk, and that's like the sturdiest of silks. The second gland is the ampullate minor, which produces temporary scaffolding for web construction. So when they're building a web, they'll actually put up this little scaffold that they can climb around on and then build the web. But it's not a permanent part of the web. It's just like a scaffold. Then the third gland is the flagelliform, which produces the capture spiral silk, which, as the name implies, is used for capture lines. And then the fourth gland is the tubular form, which produces egg cocoon silk, used to protect egg sacs. The fifth is the anciniform, which produces silk used to wrap and secure prey. And then the sixth gland is the aggregate, which produces silk glue in the form of sticky globules. And then the seventh gland is the pyriform, which produces silk used to make bonds between different threads for attachment points. So when they're building their web, they use this specific gland to like attach all the webs to each other. So that's like a specific type of web or silk that they use. So
it's like super glue.
Exactly. Yeah, it's their super
Wow.
glue. So all of these different glands, they just have tons of these different glands that they use to make silk, which I found super cool. And then the wiki article then goes into the mechanical properties of the silk,
Wow.
which I found to be pretty amazing. So I will summarize it as the silk dragline, so the thickest silk that they produce, has a tensile strength that is comparable to alloy steel, where pound for pound, the strength of the silk is comparable.
Holy
For its weight,
shit.
the spider silk is extremely strong. And this actually comes from the organized protein structure, which the article talks quite a bit about. So for those who are wondering, it's a ton of beta spirals connected large areas of beta pleated sheets, which forms the strength of the silk. And there's like a big image of it on the wiki article if you're interested. But it makes sense from a protein perspective that like this is a very, very like sturdy substance. So that's kind of cool. It just like it made sense to me, which I found very interesting.
You're such a biologist.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, the protein folds made sense. They check out. Yep.
When you see the structure of it, you'll be like, oh, okay, I could see why that's sturdy. I guess. I mean,
I see why it's sturdy. I love it.
So production of silk. So the production of silk is an on-demand process. So that's super cool, which is drastically different from many other fibers producing processes like hair growth and plant cell wall growth. Because, you don't control your hair growth. You don't be like, oh, I want my hair to grow. It's just like it happens continuously.
I wish I could control my hair growth.
Right? That'd be cool.
Yeah, I would have a mane.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Me too.
I would make so many more bad decisions faster.
Every bad
Yeah, there you
decision
go.
starts with a radical hair change.
So silk is quote unquote spun on demand from a liquid silk precursor out of the specialized glands that I listed previously. And the spinning process actually occurs when the fiber is being pulled away from the spider's body, either by the spider's legs or the spider descending. So like the spider's legs will literally pull the fiber coming out of it. And then
Because they have the little claws on the back of their legs.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And then when the spider's descending, its body weight's actually pulling it. So I just found that very interesting. And funny enough, the term spinning is actually very misleading here because there's no actual rotation of any component during silk production. So the spiders don't spin silk; they just produce it. It's not a spinning process.
They just squeeze it out.
Yeah, they just squeeze it out. So this actually comes from an analogy of textile spinning wheels and not actual silk production. So spiders don't spin silk; they just produce it. And this production process, so the pulling of the fibers, that's called pultrusion, which is a cute little word, similar to extrusion, but the force that induces the fiber formation is a pull rather than being squeezed out of a reservoir. So I don't know why this made me think of it, but like a 3D printer.
Oh yeah, extrusion extrudes. Yeah.
It extrudes the plastic. It doesn't like, it's not a pultrusion. But the spider silk would be like if the front of the plastic was being pulled. That's how pultrusion would work.
So can we think of spiders as nature's 3D printers?
I would say so. Yes.
You heard it here first, folks.
I would say they're bad 3D printers because they can only print certain things or like one thing, but they're 3D
They're doing their
printers.
best, Drew.
What do they say? A broken 3D printer's right twice a day. That's what they say.
That's really bad.
That's a terrible joke.
That's how it goes. That's the adage.
The old adage. So the unspun silk fiber is actually pulled through the silk glands, which have many duplicates in the body in different types that we discussed previously. So we all know about those new glands that I just talked about. So then the article breaks down how each of the specific glands function, which I will summarize for you because it was rather long. So the gland stores the silk as a precursor in a large, imagine like a big kind of circle. It just kind of, big area, I would call it, which then gradually diminishes in size as the precursor moves through the gland. So the gland then removes metal ions and water from the precursor and then begins to compress it. So as I said, it's gradually diminishing in size. And then this compression is actually accompanied by a decrease in pH. So it's becoming more acidic. And then finally, the gland ends in the little duct that acts as a valve for the silk that's being produced. And of course, this is a very basic summation of the process, but you kind of get the point where it starts out large, it goes to the gland, and you remove a bunch of metal ions, you remove some water, you lower the pH, and you just compress it and compress it and compress it until it's finally like a very thin strand. And so that's how they produce silk. Kind of to wrap this up, spider silk is produced by specific glands for specific functions, and the process is an at-will process versus being a continuous process. So there's not just like a ton of silk just sitting in the spider waiting to be used. It's like just being produced continuously, not continuously. It's being produced at will.
On-demand silk production.
Yeah, I demand silk. So I always wondered how spider silk was produced, and now I know a heck of a lot more about spider silk. So yeah, that's spider silk in a nutshell.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Thank you, Drew.
No problem. I was so interested in this, and I was so happy I got to express this to you guys.
That's amazing.
I have a fun little tidbit on spiders and spider silk is that in microgravity or up in space that they really struggle at trying to make their orb weaving spiders. They struggle big time trying to weave their orb without the influence of gravity.
That is so fascinating. There are so many intricacies that I never thought of, but also it amazes me how many subtle clues the animal kingdom just leaves behind. The idea that there is this trail of pheromones completely invisible to us that we would never interact with, but it's how spiders or strangers meet each other. It's just absolutely incredible to me that there is just so much complexity to things that we think are a lot simpler than I mean, there's nothing about spider webs that looks simple to me. It already looks complex. But to think that the process of how they're made or recycled or used, absolutely amazing. Just there's no other word for it. It's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's why I like spider silk. Is I had to talk about this because it was so cool.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. As usual, we gladly invite you to come hang out with us on any of our social media. Drew just made a YouTube channel.
Woo!
So if you like to throw your garbage into YouTube comments, go right ahead. We have now made that for you.
Give me your trash. Your tired and huddled masses.
I find a lot of trash under YouTube videos. Definitely follow us on Twitter. Go Ask Alice Pod. And Sarah.
Go and follow us at Go Ask Alice Pod on Twitter and Go Ask Alice Podcast on Instagram and TikTok.
Good.
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 Yeah, leave us a comment wherever you make your podcast listening happen.
And we can't wait to see you next week. Bye.
We love you. We love you, Robin, now.
We love you, Robin.
We love you, Robin.
We love you, Robin. Bye-bye. I can only watch amateur porn. Great.